Hello, welcome to Culture TV and to our online program, Let's Speak Russian. This is lesson 6. So in this video, we'll start tackling the last group of letters. Now, this is the largest group, so it will take us 3 lessons to get through it. And also, it's arguably the hardest group. But there's nothing to worry about. We'll take it nice and easy and you'll be fine. Before we start that though, as always, let's take a look at the answers to the homework. So if you remember, you had this list of 5 Russian cities whose names you had to try to pronounce. I hope this wasn't too difficult. So let's find out what you should have got. For the first one, it's Moskva. Moskva. Moskva, which is of course Moscow. Then we have Sankt Petersburg. Sankt Petersburg, also fairly obvious, St. Petersburg, Sankt Petersburg. The third one was Tomsk, Tomsk, which is simply Tomsk, followed by Krasnodar, 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 okay, same name in English, Krasnodar. And finally, Murmansk, 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 Murmansk in English. And yes, you will notice that many Russian cities do end in this sk suffix. It is indeed quite common, and I think it just means the place of. So with this last one, for example, Murmansk means the place of the Murman people, I believe, something like that. Okay, hopefully that was all right. Now for this new group of letters. What's so special about it? Well, as you can see, it takes up exactly a third of the Russian alphabet. And while some of them are fairly rare in the Russian language, others are very common. So you do need to know all of them. Now this group is called strangers, purely because neither their appearance nor their sounds are familiar to us as English speakers. But that's not to say that these are completely new sounds. So some sounds we still have in the English language, it's just that we might use a combination of letters to produce that sound. Whilst in Russian there'll be just one weird and wonderful letter for this one sound. So in this video we'll take a look at the first 4. Here they are. Okay, and here's the first letter. Very similar to the letter Y that we've seen already, except that you have this accent on the top, I suppose. It's not called anything, it doesn't have a special name, it's just the letter Yo. Yo. So again, just like with the letter Y, there's a letter Y at the start, a hidden letter Y, and then the other vowel sound that we're making is the or. Or. So it's not yo, okay, this is your. I hope that by now you are distinguishing between these long sounds that we have in English, like O and R, that don't exist in Russian, and instead they're short and open. Your. So here's the first word. Yolka. Yolka. Yolka, which is a fir tree. The next word is самолет, 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 which is an aeroplane. And you'll notice that I'm not giving you the stress. And actually with this letter it's quite convenient in that the stress always falls on the letter yo. Whenever you see a letter yo in a Russian word, that is where you're going to put the stress. And I also hope that you've noticed that we're applying the same principle as with the letter Y, whereby the preceding consonant is softened. So listen again, it's самолет, самолет, okay? Definitely not самолет. So what we discussed a couple of lessons ago with the letter Y applies for the letter Yo as well, alright? So now you have a go at this word then. Okay, very good. Лёд, лёд, which is ice. Okay, and here's the next word, tёзка. Tёзка, which means namesake. Now this word is a bit of an exception because the z sound is actually s in this case. There are a few other words in Russian where the z is actually pronounced as a s, but you certainly don't need to know that. Alright, let's move on to the next letter. Listen to the sound it makes. It's zh. Zh. Okay, this is the Russian letter zh, which makes the zh sound. So when it's transcribed into English, you will see zh, and the sound that you're aiming for once again is zh. It's kind of like a soft J. So if you know or speak French, the letter J in French is pronounced also in this way, zh. Alright? It's exactly the same in Russian. So with this first word, for example, it's жук. Жук, which is a beetle. Жук. Now it's your turn to pronounce this. Brilliant. Жажда. Жажда. Alright, which means thirst. Жажда. The next word is жара. Жара, which means heat. And generally we use this to talk about hot weather. Жара. Now you have a go at this word. Nice and simple, hopefully. Ёж. Yes, very good. Ёж, which is a hedgehog. Let's move on to the next letter. Listen to the sound. Sh. Sh. Alright, so this is the Russian letter sh, which is often transcribed into English as sh. And indeed, it makes a very similar sound to what we have in English in words like she, share, shell, and so on. But there is a very subtle difference. For now, it's not that important, but when we see a similar letter to this next time, we'll talk about this difference in a bit more detail. For now, just think of this as the sh in English. It's like very, very similar. So here's the first word, for example. The pronunciation will be шапка. Шапка. Шапка, which is a hat. Шапка. Then we have шкаф. Шкаф. A cupboard. Шкаф. Now you try this word. Fantastic. Шкала. Шкала. Alright? If we replace the R in the middle with an O, we will get школа. Школа, which is a school. Now the next word should be familiar to you. Have a go at pronouncing it. Excellent. Шоколад. Шоколад, which is of course chocolate. Шоколад. Now this brings me to another fairly important point about stress. So although in English we put it at the start, chocolate, in Russian the stress jumps to the end. Шоколад. Alright? So although this is a loan word, it's come into Russian from a different language, do be prepared to see the stress appearing in an unfamiliar position. But then again, if you get the stress wrong and you forget where it's supposed to be, that's absolutely fine. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes I feel I make it sound as though it's a catastrophe if you get the stress wrong. It absolutely isn't. Don't worry about it. Obviously, it's great if you do get it right, but certainly nothing to worry about if you get it wrong. Alright, the last word then is stamp. Stamp, which is a stamp printer. So the tool that actually prints the stamp on the paper. Stamp. Alright? So you may have noticed that it's just a matter of this sh sound being a bit harsher, a bit harder, firmer, if you like. But as I say, we'll talk about this more next time. Now then, for the last letter, this is the Russian letter ch. Ch, which makes the ch sound. Again, very similar to the CH that we see in English. So in this word, for example, it's tkach, tkach, okay, which is the weaver, tkach, followed by this word, bagach, bagach, which is generally a rich man, bagach. Now you have a go at this word. Excellent. Почка, почка, which is a kidney, and I'll let you do the last word as well. Молча, yes, very good. Молча, which means silently. Alright, so that's the end of this video. You'll be pleased to know probably that there's no homework. We'll just get straight into it next time. We'll take a look at some more of these stranger letters. So if you have any questions or queries on this, do feel free to leave a comment below. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention. See you next time. Goodbye.